Such a great evening to be with you right here on ET Now. I'm Supriya, Shrinate, and this is the India Development Debate. And joining us all the way in Mumbai is my colleague and co-anchor Sandeep Gurumurthi. And tonight we put the spotlight to where it belongs, the battleground of Karnataka. It's election season and farm loan waivers seem to be back in fashion once again. The BJP released its poll manifesto for the upcoming assembly elections in Karnataka, loaded with plenty of goodies for all. The party says it will waive off all farm loans worth less than 1 lakh rupees if it is voted to power. Launching the poll manifesto, BJP's chief ministerial candidate B.S. Yadurappa said his party is committed to reducing the financial burden of the farmers. The other highlights are a ban on cow slaughter, financial assistance for up to 2 lakh rupees for women's self-help groups, free sanitary napkins for poor girls and free laptops for students.
The BJP's poll manifesto calling it a handbook of lies. In a tongue-in-cheek tweet, Chief Minister Siddaramaiah requested the Prime Minister to first fulfill his promise of depositing 15 lakh rupees to every Indian's account before making any fresh ones. In India, we have a dubious track record when it comes to political parties honouring their poll promises. But what is shocking about the BJP manifesto is the absence of solutions to the long-term problems that the state is facing now. Ironically, the election manifesto of the Congress, which was released last week, is not very different from that of the BJP, but for the ban on cow slaughter. Battleground Karnataka, that's what we're discussing tonight on the India Development Debate. Joining us on the India Development Debate this evening, representing the BJP is Syed Zafar Islam, representing the Congress is Nivedit Alva, and we've got Syed Aslam representing the JDS. And the two experts on the show, Professor Chandan Gowda of the Zim Premji University and Sadanand Dume, Resident Fellow, American Enterprise Institute. Thank you all for joining us on the India Development Debate. Professor Chandan Gowda, I'm going to start off with you. Before we get down to the manifesto, because this is the India Development Debate, I have to ask you this question. Is the Karnataka election being fought on the development plank? Politicians like us to believe that all elections, including this one, is being fought on development and fought on Vikas. Is the Karnataka election being fought on the plank of development, or is it all about religion, caste and linguistic groups?
There are, you'll see bits of all of them. If you think, JDS, for example, which has started its campaign, which is the first to start its campaign, has made concrete promises of farm loan waivers up to whatever limit from all kinds of banks. And this has actually endeared Kumaraswamy to a mass of farmers. His rallies are very well attended. So when the BJP says it will do something similar but up to 1 lakh of rupees, it's being seen as a mimic move. And the job offer of the Congress was also definitely on the, sorry, I should say something else. Kumaraswamy, when he's waiving farm loans, he's also saying it's a temporary measure. I really wish to create a situation where farmers don't need to take loans. So that for me seems like a developmental, plan of a kind. But the job creation promise that the Congress has made is also within the development plank. 1 crore jobs over 5 years is what Siddaramaiah has promised. Both of these elements, the farm loan waiver plus job creation, definitely within the development agenda, are being echoed in the BJP manifesto in a literal way. And there are many, many populist schemes alongside too, which are not about development at all, like smartphones and laptops. But it's a combination. And like you mentioned, there's also some communal cards being played. The prevention of cattle slaughter being brought in, BJP saying it will bring it back. That is definitely trying to send a message to its core constituency that we have not let go of this agenda alongside. But caste, not so much in terms of any sops being offered to particular castes. Religion, again, in this negative sense. But otherwise, the push for having a separate religious status for Lingayats, nobody seems to be talking about that in the Congress or anywhere else.
Okay. Just hold your thoughts there, Professor Gowda, because I want to take this across to Sadanand Dume. And Sadanand, if both the Congress and the BJP want us to believe that this was all about development, this was about creating jobs and all of that, why did the Congress have to play the Lingayat card in the beginning, and why did the BJP have to field Yogi Adityanath as a star campaigner all the way in Karnataka?
I mean, Supriya, I think it's hardly earth-shattering to point out that what you and I and Sandeep regard as development is really, quite far away from the language of electoral politics. This is true of Karnataka. It's true of other states too. I would disagree with the professor about calling loan waivers a development plank. It's actually extremely harmful to the financial system, harmful to the culture of credit. I mean, we've seen this in other states. So the fact is that you have a mix. You have some things that you could call promises of development, such as job creation and better infrastructure. You have some naked populism. I'd put loan waivers, free cell phones, and so on in that. And you have the usual mix of caste and religion, which all parties do. And so, in that sense, this is just a standard template for Indian elections. I don't see how this election is particularly different from others.
It's a standard template of for Indian elections, and you aren't seeing anything different. That's Sadanand's view. I tend to agree with him on that. Let's take it to the politicians. To you first, Syed Zafar Islam. And I think how embarrassing is it for the BJP that today the Supreme Court has dismissed the plea of Janardhan Reddy wanting to campaign in Bellary for his brother, for a party that sort of made anti-corruption, seen as anti-corruption crusaders of sorts. The fact that you've had to give tickets to a slew of members of the Reddy family, and does it in some sense expose the hypocrisy of the BJP's efforts to wage an anti-corruption campaign? Has that in a sense been exposed? You've targeted Siddaramaiah, you've targeted the Congress party, and yet here you are, the Supreme Court's ruled that your party member who's serving a term in the jail cannot campaign in Bellary.
See, I don't want to comment on the judgment of Supreme Court pure because it's honorable court's judgment and everyone has to comply with that. But having said that, you also have to understand that the person who is contesting election is not a convicted man. Merely charges against somebody does not prove him to be guilty, and that's something which law allows everyone to contest, and that is what he is doing. And I think one should always keep that in mind, that party always, when you work for a political party, there are a lot of allegation being leveled against you by the opposition parties time and again. And if you and even the Supreme Court, or for that matter, all the courts of the government of India do recognize that these are sometimes, most of the time, it's a frivolous allegation and without any substance. And then eventually, it is always the person is acquitted by the court. So you have to wait for somebody to be convicted before you being judgmental, and one should not jump the gun and make somebody believe that he is a convicted person. Fine, this has not been allowed purely because of some reason. The Honorable Supreme Court felt that he should not go and campaign. Is something which it's a wisdom of the court, and they have chosen to decide that he should not go and campaign for his brother.
Right.
Having said that, what is important for all of us to realize that today, Sandeep, that today the manifesto.
Right.
Shall I go ahead or?
No. Mr. Syed Zafar Islam, I think you made your point there. I will just urge you to stop here because I want to go across to the Congress party because they've got some serious questions to answer as well. But if acquittal by the courts meant that there was never a scam, then 2G was really a useless issue that the BJP created with the Congress. I mean, just to say it in the devil's defense, and we all know that there was serious issues and serious policies that were undermined there, and what happened with 2G. So I don't think acquittal by courts alone is a stamp of morality or probity in public life. But let me take this across to Nivedita Alva. And Nivedita Alva, the Siddaramaiah government has an equally poor track record when it comes to fighting corruption. People know that it was this government that diluted the powers of the Lok Ayukt to establishing the Anti-Corruption Bureau. Your manifesto now makes amends, but isn't it a tad too late?
Hi. Okay. First of all, either we are discussing the manifesto or, I mean, because from the top of this debate, the way sweeping judgmental statements are being made about the manifesto and stuff like that. First of all, the Congress released its manifesto last week. The BJP manifesto has come out today. The manifesto released by the Congress was almost 3 months of work in progress, where the manifesto committee traveled across the state, met stakeholders across the state in every district, had open meetings which are open to the media, open to the public, all in all to keep going that we are the #1 investment destination, that we are the #1 in software exports, that all the development work that has happened over the last 5 years, The fact is that the Congress party has delivered over 155 out of 165 promises that it made 5 years ago. Now that cannot just be ignored or thrown out of the window where, everything is now become, and the other thing is, I went through the BJP manifesto today and I've got 3 pages here and I've got 3 pages of points where every single thing that they have released today has either been done, is being done, or is already in our manifesto. So the point I'm trying to make is this is just from the BJP, another Jumla manifesto like they came out with in 2014 where they said they're going to bring 15 lakhs back, where they said they're going to do 2 crore jobs, all those things which were, so it is basically nothing but a cut and paste manifesto. And I'm going to substantiate my claims with just 3 examples. Give me just 20 seconds, that's all I'll take. I'm starting off right at the top where they say basically they've got 3,000 crores for Kamadhenu fund for development of animal husbandry because you're talking about farming and dairy farming infrastructure. The Congress government budget is already 2,250 crores. Shira Dare and Pashu Bhagya has improved dairy already. They've talked about subsidies for silk rearing and units, which again, Karnataka is already the world's 2nd largest and India's top silk producer and exporter, right? They're talking about, they made the biggest fun of us over the last 1 year, all the local BJP leaders about the Indira canteens. And suddenly now it appears that Mukhyamantri Annapurna canteens, they will build 300 of them, 3 in every district, 1 in each taluk headquarters to provide quality, affordable meals. I can go on and on and on, but every single point on their manifesto, let them raise it on this debate and I will counter what that is actually. It is nothing but the mastery of what they've done at the central government where they took all the UPA schemes, renamed them and put them out and now they're pretending that they've come up with them. And now it's also very clear why they waited a whole week because they must have had a really tough week sitting with our manifesto, going through it repeatedly and trying to figure out how to come up with something.
Okay, I take that point.
In the run-up to this campaign, had said how they're going to release 224,
you made your point.
224 manifestos, 1 for each assembly seat. Nothing has come
you
so
made
far.
your point, Nivedit Alva. A quick rebuttal from you, Zafar Islam, and then I need to go to Syed Aslam as well and find out the JDS's view. But quick rebuttal from you, Zafar Islam.
I think my question to the Congress spokesperson that I'm sure that he knows that it is a Congress party which is governing in the state of Karnataka, and what they should tell the people of Karnataka what they had promised.
Yes.
They made in 2013 and the manifesto what they had released, how much they have achieved. If you just go through, analyze the manifesto what they had released, there are many things, many things they have
that
not
has
done.
been released to the
And
media.
they are not talking
That has
about
been
it.
released
So
to the
no,
media.
listen, I didn't interrupt you.
Over
I didn't interrupt
155
you.
of those 165 promises.
Let him complete his point.
It has already been released to the media.
Sir,
So if you
I
want to
didn't
talk
interrupt
about
you,
that,
please
Okay,
allow me to
Nivedit, that's
complete.
not how we do debates here. Let him complete his point and then we'll come to you. Zafar Islam, please complete your point. I need to go to Syed Aslam.
I think you should tell him the rule of...
Okay, please go ahead. Yeah, complete your point, Zafar.
They should come out with the action taken report. What they have done and what they had promised and how much they have delivered. Something which they know they cannot make it public because they haven't not been able to deliver. There are many things I can cite example that they have not delivered, and that's why they are not talking about that. They are talking about the BJP manifesto more than their own manifesto because they know they stand exposed to that because they have not been able to deliver. And as far as the BJP manifesto is concerned, yes, we always focus on growth. We always focus on vikas, but we do not shy away from fulfilling the obligation and responsibility towards the marginalized
Zafar Islam, you're not replying to the question there.
All our schemes
okay, I am going to have to interrupt you because you're not giving a specific reply to the points raised there by Nivedit Alva. I need to take it to Syed Aslam. I need to take the debate forward. Syed Aslam, the BJP has come out with its manifesto. The Congress has come out with its manifesto. Actually, I should say the Congress came out with it first, and then the BJP came out with it. Even Yogendra Yadav's Swaraj India party has come out with a manifesto. What about the JDS? I know you made a tall promise on farm loan waiver, but beyond that, what about the JDS's blueprint as far as manifesto is concerned? Mr. Aslam.
Well, we would certainly release the manifesto by Monday. You would have the manifesto coming out. Right? Let me tell you that both the national parties are out in the promising spree. The people of Karnataka would certainly question the ruling Congress government in the state and the Modi ji's government. We will certainly question that. The people of Karnataka will give a befitting reply in the state of Karnataka through their mandate, and we will ensure that we are a people-friendly party. We are a regional party. We are a strongest emerging force. We are fighting these elections on the development agenda. We are fighting the elections with a slogan called Kumara Parva. We are focused on providing pro-farmer policies, as you rightly said. We are the ones who are talking about loan waivers. We are the ones who are talking about uninterrupted power supply to the farmers. We are the ones who are talking about providing the right selling price to the farmers. We are the ones who are focused on the Kaveri issue, and we are the ones who are focused on resolving the Mahadai issue. Both the national parties have conveniently stayed away from the Mahadai and Kaveri issue. And also to talk about, we are also focused on providing women empowerment, and we also need to talk about women's safety and security. And both the manifestos, I haven't seen much about it. Let me talk about. Let me finish, ma'am.
Okay.
Now, when the manifesto is released, we will also talk about the healthcare and providing better education for the people of Karnataka. Now what's happening is in the state, I think the BJP and the Congress have woken up from slumber now. The BJP was more interested in creating the communal rift and the divide amongst the societies, and suddenly they're talking about development today after the manifesto is released. And to talk about the Congress, the corruption is at the helm of its affairs today, and there's absolutely lawlessness in the state of Karnataka. And look at the infrastructure which Bangalore has today. I'm a Bangalorean, and let me quickly complete this. I'm a Bangalorean. I understand the woes of the people of Karnataka. Look at the roads in Bangalore, yes. and we are talking about whatever is promised and is delivered. It is the people of Karnataka who will decide whether the promises which were given by the Congress party and the BJP party, whether they have been delivered or not delivered. It's the people of Karnataka who will decide that. The people of Karnataka will give a befitting reply through the mandate in the elections.
Okay, I got that, Syed Aslam, and I think you made a whole host of points on everything that these two parties have promised and have not promised, and you have. I wonder why not have a political manifesto which should outline what you stand for, what you promise, which should be for everybody's compulsion. But anyways, that's the choice that JDS chooses to make. I'm sure you're telling your people what you want to stand for. But I want to take it back to Sadanand. And Sadanand, political rhetoric aside, are manifestos increasingly looking the same? Free power, loan waivers, SOPs, massive irrigation schemes. I mean, it's almost like they're a replica of each other beyond, of course, some demarcations here. There 1.25 lakh crore for irrigation here, 1.5 lakh crore for irrigation there. I'm just saying, the political rhetoric aside, is the blueprint more or less the same?
Yeah, I think that, there's very little to distinguish the two parties. If you go over their manifestos, they're strikingly similar. They all have a kind of, about these big promises. And essentially, there are a long laundry list of giveaways. Every party does this. There's no party out there that is trying to, stake out, quote unquote, more responsible ground. They're all in the same game. And I don't blame them, because if you and I were to form a party tomorrow, we'd probably do the same thing, because that's obviously what works with voters. I think the only sort of distinctions we see are on some of these cultural hot button issues. I think it's interesting that the BJP has brought in some of its, cow slaughter, beef ban, that element. It's not surprising, but it's interesting because because that is one of the things that does set it apart from the other parties. But beyond that, in terms of most of what is being promised the average voter, there's very little to tell the major parties apart.
Oh yes, it's an important aspect you've brought to the debate, and we'll debate that a little later on the show. But Professor Gowda, if I could come to you, and this is what B.S. Yediyurappa said. It's important to understand the importance, if at all, of these manifestos. And Yediyurappa said today that if people read these manifestos, then BJP's vote share will go up by 3 to 4%. Now that's typical election rhetoric. What I'm trying to find out is which part of this is true. I mean, do people read manifestos? And number two, if they do, does it make such a big difference?
It's a good question. If the JDS hasn't released its manifesto, and if the Congress has released it last week, and if the BJP is doing it this week, it's because their manifestos have already been made public in their speeches all these weeks. And this has, for a long time, the manifesto has simply been a little more than a ritual of, of a few items of, declaration. It's not really like a promise. It's a list of things that we think we will do. And almost always they come at the end of the campaign time. We're a week away and the manifesto is being released today. So where is the time for anyone to read it, let alone be inspired by it? So but it's an interesting ritual that all parties are committed to having the manifesto out at some point. And but Siddaramaia's claim earlier this year that he had fulfilled 125 of the 165 promises made in the last manifesto, that has lent the manifesto a certain kind of gravity, as if it is something you need to live up to, which is why you find so much discussion around it. I mean, if you compare it to the last assembly election, I can't remember such discussion around anyone's manifesto. That's one. Secondly, Karnataka, this is the 5th year of drought, and 65% of the population lives in villages. It should not be surprising that farmer-related issues have taken precedence, especially for the JDS and sort of belatedly for the BJP now. And I don't think it's wrong to want to respond to the farmers' concerns in this way. Although populism may seem like a pure electoral gimmick, I think it's a concrete response. And if you read their declarations of, waiving loans, it's usually surrounded by other declarations about minimum support price, about creating, subsidiary occupations in villages, etc., etc. And frankly, none of us have this concern when corporate subsidies are offered, to the tune of a few lakh crores. And I don't think we should grudge the farmers this sort of a concession. But this cannot be a permanent sort of a promise every 5 years. This has to be a temporary thing, and because it really needs a whole host of surrounding work in terms of making healthcare accessible, in terms of making good schools accessible, which makes a small agricultural income something that one can find viable. So this commitment is also seen, but we really have to see how the governments will go about this. And just a quick response to Sadanand Dubey, I frankly don't think a concern with economic growth needs to be at the expense of welfareism. I think they can go together. In fact, they have to go together. If for some reason you haven't been able to give farmers the right price, you can try to find the right policy fix. While you do so, the immediate troubles have to be addressed. And I wouldn't scoff at the loan waiver offers.
Okay. Won't scoff at the loan waiver offers is the word that's coming in from Professor Chandan Gora. But I'll go back to the politicians once again, and Nivedita Talwar, to you then. And I want to get down to some of the specifics of your manifesto. Your manifesto talks about doubling farmer income. Now, how do you propose to do that? Unless, of course, you intend to follow in the footsteps of the central government that also wants to double farmer income all across the country. I'm just curious to understand what's the blueprint you have to do so.
See, I'm really happy with I mean, I completely agree with what the professor just said, because election rhetoric, manifesto, and things like that alike, because there are a lot of issues today which are plaguing India across the country. You'll find that state after state, you'll see have drought, neighboring states have floods. So, there's also a larger picture. Now, like he said, Karnataka has had a very bad bout of drought over the last 5 years. The state government here had done its best to help out by cancelling the loans which were to the district and cooperative credit banks and stuff like that. Now, apart from that, we were always in touch with the Chief Minister, met the Prime Minister, the loan waiver from the nationalized banks was asked for. There was no sort of response on that at all. Now, that is one part of it. Now, the BJP promises they're going to do it, which I don't believe in any case. But the point is, the overall development of the agricultural sector, for example, the last 5 years, a lot of money and effort has gone into rejuvenating water bodies, dried up lakes during the drought time being basically desilted. Asia's largest drip irrigation project has come to Karnataka. Asia's largest solar power project has come to Karnataka. So the point I'm trying to make is the overall development of the state, the development of farmers, of people in rural areas, is what we have gone after and what we have tried to do. Because all these kinds of things, drip irrigation, desilting of lakes, because when it rains, if you fill up those water bodies and it doesn't rain the next year, all the better for them, because that takes them through those few extra months where basically you don't have to end up saying drought again and then fall into the vicious cycle. So politics aside, it is time all of us as Indians also start, having the exact discussion which what the professor is talking about. And I also agree with him. It's very easy to, live in big cities and, fly around the world and scoff at basically loans to farmers where even 5,000 or 25,000, up to under 50,000, where if you write that off, makes the largest difference to their lives, which people in cities frankly don't care about. So thank you, Professor, for that wonderful point and for seeing it that way.
I don't think anyone here is going to dispute the sentiment made there by Professor Gowda, but the larger point is it's become a culture in this country that every state government comes to power promising farm loan waivers, and it vitiates credit discipline. I agree, it's not as if, everybody in this country is sympathetic to the concerns of the farmers, but is that the way we need to go? I know Syed Aslam wants to comment, but I have to let Sadanand Dume comment on that, because the larger point is it's very clear that across the political spectrum, and while the BJP takes a nice economically prudent stand from at the center, and says that we're not in favor of farm loan waivers, but it's state governments, whether in UP, whether in Maharashtra or now in Karnataka, if they want to come to power, go by the same route. So political parties are not able to think beyond farm loan waivers, beyond increasing MSPs to reform the farm sector. Sadanand.
I'd like to respectfully disagree with the professor. Actually, I think what is very easy to do is to resort to this kind of cheap sentimentalism and claim that anybody who, speaks out against farm loan waivers does not care about the poor. Of course I care about the poor. Of course I care about the suffering of the farmers. But the point is this a sensible, long-term, sustainable policy instrument? And it isn't. This is not the way you do it. It punishes the people who do repay their loans. It hurts the credit culture of the country. It is putting a Band-Aid on a gaping wound. What you need are policies that, in fact, make farms viable. And what you need are policies that create jobs in factories and allow people to move out from the farms and get gainful employment. Those are the things that political parties should be focused on. These are Band-Aids, these are populist measures, and though there's no, and when one criticizes them, what I am doing is criticizing the political process and the policies that process throws out. Nobody begrudges the poor person who is a beneficiary, but I do find fault with the policies that are being put in place, which are simply not sustainable. So that's the kind of first point. I want to also sort of take this to another point that had come up a little bit earlier. So let me touch upon this very briefly. The idea of the Bellari brothers, which we looked at earlier and we haven't sort of gone into in detail, I think it's a gamble by the BJP, frankly, because you see under Amit Shah, the party being very tactically smart, right? It's scrappy, it's looking to win every single seat, but sometimes losing sight of how these things look nationally. The fact is, whether we like it or not, the Bellari brothers are a symbol of some of the most egregious corruption India has seen over the last decade. And for the BJP to be hobnobbing with these people, giving them tickets, the Prime Minister to be seen with such figures, frankly, makes it cut a sorry figure. And I'm surprised we haven't kind of gotten more into this.
No, sure. There are questions that await us just towards the end of this debate, but I'm quickly going to just get done with the agrarian policies and the farm loan waiver. And we love the spirited dissent and the spirited debate that's happening on this. Like people to disagree, but I think I just think very quickly, Zafar Islam. I have to ask you, Syed Zafar Islam, this question. It seems for both the parties, both the Congress and the BJP, the real. Okay, go ahead very quickly, because I want to go to the BJP and ask this question.
Yeah. So I think.
Mr. Syed Aslam, come again.
Yeah. So I think both the Congress and the BJP are trying to take a moral high ground by just promising that they would waive off the farmer loans. Well, who will answer about the 3,600 farmers who have lost their lives? They've lost their lives because of the crop loss and the worst drought. You can't just say that you have done your bit. We had the worst drought in 2017. The people of Karnataka, the farmers of Karnataka, are asking both the party which was in rule in the state and the national party, the BJP and the Congress, what have you done about it? There's no. We were supposed to give an amicable solution for the Mahadai. The Congress has been in power for more than 4.5 years now. and the BJP is in power in the center for more than 3 years now. Both the parties did not put in effort to bring an amicable solution. The farmers, maximum farmers have lost their lives in the North Karnataka belt. What are we talking about? We're just saying that we waive off the farmers' loans.
Okay.
That's not the solution to it. The solution is not just
yes.
No, let me complete.
Absolutely.
Let me complete. So
no, there is no denying that the solution can't be. I get that point.
No, I'll tell you. Let me speak, ma'am. So
no. 1 second. I can't let the debate be hijacked by just one topic. There is too much ground to cover there. But I get your broader point.
Yes.
But the solution doesn't lie in taking moral high ground both by the Congress and the BJP. I think the solution lies out of this. Grandstanding has to stop, and real efforts have to be made on the ground. But Sadanand Dhume made a very important point, and Syed Zafar Islam, since you represent the BJP here, I think it's only fair that I give you a chance to defend yourself. Hobnobbing with the Bellari brothers and the kind of reputation that they carry. The point that Sadanand makes, that Amit Shah and Narendra Modi, very tactical politicians, understand strategy. Why are you doing this? What's the larger message you're delivering to the rest of the country? That win at all costs, which also means embracing corrupt practices. And don't give me the answer that, cases are on and they have a chance to prove themselves, because that's not how the rest of this country is viewing Bellari brothers and Yadurappa hobnobbing with the rest of the BJP right now in Karnataka. Go ahead.
Well, I will have to repeat that what you said, that since they are not convicted, they are still innocent, and the case is still there, and they have the opportunity to prove that they are innocent. But let me ask, on the same yardstick, did you see a few days ago Rahul Gandhi meeting a convicted man in AIMS, Mr. Lalu Prasad Yadav? He is a convicted man on the corruption charges, and Mr. Rahul Gandhi himself is on bail on the corruption charges. How do you see that?
So what?
No, I'm asking you
there
that
is something
when a
called
person
societal
who is already
perception,
on bail
and the
on
societal
a corruption
perception
charge,
for the Bellari brothers, whether they're
So,
convicted or not, is that they have robbed the exchequer. No, 1 second. Syed Zafar Islam, by the same logic, what are we talking about?
Let me.
And everybody who was acquitted in the 2G scam today is not a saint.
You and I cannot become, you and I cannot become judgmental here. All I am saying that let the process on, let the court take a call. The judgment will come from the court. If the court pronounces them, they are convicted, obviously the law will take its own course. But having said that,
Zafar Islam, answer a direct question for me. I get that. I get that.
Has been pronounced by the
Syed Zafar Islam, I have a direct question for you. Answer in yes or no. Was there a 2G scam in this country or not? Answer that question, yes or no. The court has said there wasn't a scam. They've all been acquitted. Was there a scam or not? Answer in yes or no, prime time tonight.
Absolutely, there was a 2G scam. And let me tell you, as an ex-investment banker, I have gone through something.
You're not respecting the courts now. Anyways, let's move on.
Few people have been...
No.
What, Zafar Islam, I take that point. Your point on Lalu Yadav is predictable. I don't want this to be a BJP alone debate, but I need to go to Nivedit Alva. But I have a simple point, Zafar Islam. You raised about the point that Rahul Gandhi was seen with Lalu Yadav. Yes, it's disappointing. And fact of the matter is that people of this country rejected the UPA government for that very reason, for the corruption taint, right? And people hold the BJP, or apparently hold the BJP to a higher standard, which is the point that Sadanand was making. And so it is, it might upset people. At the end of the day, the voters have to make up their mind. I don't want to waste too much of time on corruption. But to you, Nivedit Alva,
let me respond to. Very honestly, I will respond to that.
Very quickly, Zafar Islam. I need to go to others.
See, the perception cannot be always be right. So I think the benefit of doubt you have to give the person who is in the dock. And all I can say that yes, there are some time with the political compulsion and one has to go with the wind. But having said that, we have
Manmohan
always
Singh,
taken
when he had to keep
Andimuthu
Raja in the cabinet. Let's move aside. Okay, this is going down the same route. I take that point. Let me go to Nivedit Alva and let's talk about jobs, because Nivedit Alva, everyone's talking about the jobs crisis. And again, the Congress manifesto promises creation of 1 crore jobs in Karnataka in 5 years. How are you going to do that? I mean, you talk about, colossal lies and jumla. I mean, how do you realistically believe the pace at which job creation is happening in the country, or even it happened during the UPA regime, and given the advancement of technology, how do you realistically expect to create 1 crore jobs in the state of Karnataka alone?
No, before I go on to that, I just want to make one point because this whole Reddy discussion has happened, and I would like to make one point about that. That basically, if you go back 5 years, every single thing that basically was thrown out, they have brought back. The gentleman who watched porn in the assembly is back. The Reddy brothers are back. All of them are back. And in fact, Yedurappa ji, more or less yesterday in an interview, has gone on record saying the decision to bring the Reddys back to center stage has been taken by Amit Shah. Okay, that's the first point I want to make. On your second point, because I don't want to let the debate digress, and we're here to talk development, and because we have something to talk about. To answer your question, a lot has happened in Karnataka over the last 5 years, and some of the points which we are talking about now are in progression to what has happened and how we're looking at the future with the base that we're standing on right now. So when you're looking at a state which is, for example, let's say, the number one in startups as of today, earlier at the end of last year, the state in fact launched a startup policy, which was very unique, where the states helped in incubation of these startups, gave them subsidies, and right now they've also promised a startup subsidy to entrepreneurs of up to 1 crore. Right now, the point I'm trying to make is that this is overall and all-encompassing because we are already the number one in manufacturing excellence. We are already, for example, even GST, if you take that, right, apart from how it was messed up by the central government across and the rollout and everybody, the central government themselves said that Karnataka was the number one in GST preparedness. Now, Bangalore has always been known as the startup capital. In fact, as recent as a few months ago, the World Economic Forum, the same World Economic Forum where Mr. Modi
help you
and the
create
other
1
Mr.
crore
Modi
jobs. I mean, that's what I'm
also
asking.
rated us as the
How
most
is it going to help
dynamic
you
city in
create
the
1
world.
crore jobs?
So
Is
endlessly,
this
how
promise-
long
is there a
point I'm
basis
trying to
for
make
this
is
promise
that
is
we
what
are
we're
the
asking
one is
has
tonight?
making
been
here.
going on. We are working all the central government schemes of training which they have, plus the Siddaramaiah government has set up a separate department for skill development and for training 5 years ago, which is conducting its job fairs, which is training youth at different levels of education, the modernization of the ITIs, medical colleges across
Then
all the
you should
districts.
stay relaxed.
A lot of these
Why
steps
are you
have already
overly
been
worried?
taken, to push through
then
to
you
that,
should not be
to
overly
push
worried
through
about
to
the
the
election
end that we're
outcome.
trying to do.
Okay. This is not how we do debates,
Pardon?
but Nivedha Alwa, I'm actually very surprised that you've gone ahead calling the BJP manifesto a jumla and you yourself promised 1 crore jobs. I do not know if all that you say add up to 1 crore jobs, but we'll leave that to the voters to decide. I want to take up a very important
We
issue.
have said
and
1
Professor
crore
Chandan Gaura, if I
jobs.
may
We
come
have
to
said 1
you.
crore
The
jobs over
vexing
5
issue
years.
really is
1 crore job over 5 years.
that's still a tall order. That's still a tall order. That's the order Mr. Modi had promised India. He hasn't been able to deliver. I wonder if you should have learnt your lessons from there. But anyways, I want to shift focus and talk about the other vexing issue, which is the soft Hindutva push in BJP's manifesto. And Professor Chandan Gaura, while promising to reintroduce the now defunct Karnataka Cow Slaughter Act Bill 2012, along with promising non-interference in temple administration and assuring that the only Hindus will be members of temple administration committees, is the BJP looking at the math at the temple heads in Karnataka to ensure voters? Influential people there, influential voices, very influential over its votaries, including the Lingayats.
Sorry, could you restate the question? I couldn't quite hear what you said.
I'm just saying, is the BJP trying to peddle in soft? Is the BJP trying to peddle in soft Hindutva by this whole, in reintroducing the now defunct Karnataka cow slaughter bill and all of that?
Definitely. It was introduced in 2010, and then an amendment was introduced in 2012 to add bulls and buffaloes as part of the definition of cattle, and which the Congress party actually stalled when it came to power. If you look at the manifesto without something like this, there's virtually nothing to distinguish the BJP from the other two parties. So it will have to offer something to its constituency, the hardcore Hindutva constituency, which you look for is something about this program being done. And this is one of those things. I just saw a summary of the manifesto. I couldn't get the complete booklet to see what else they're planning to do which might appeal to their hardcore constituency. But this is definitely a symbolic and a concrete assurance to their constituency that we are not we're not letting go of that program of ours, and that can only mean, it's ironic, a manifesto that is saying we are for the farmers, and in all these hundreds of ways, and if you want to do this, the farmers will be burdened by aging cattle, and that is a contradiction they ought to see straight away. But it clearly, at this time, they're just trying to do all they can to appeal to various constituencies.
Differentiating factor in the BJP manifesto is the sort of Hindutva push. I don't think it's soft Hindutva, but it's a Hindutva push. But Sadanand, if I could come to you, the one differentiating factor one would argue in the Congress manifesto is the focus on sub-nationalism that is seen in the Congress manifesto. The whole Kannadiga pride and the sort of pushback against BJP's imposition of Hindi, BJP's nationalist politics and its Hindi heartland rhetoric. And there's only so much that the BJP can go in this direction to be seen as a regional party. The Congress has tried to play this whole sub-national card a little bit, and it's sort of more evident in their manifesto. Would you agree with that assessment? Is that another differentiating factor in the manifesto and the rhetoric of both the parties?
Oh, absolutely, Sandeep. I think that's a very important point that you raised. And if you kind of step away from Karnataka for a minute and sort of look at the national picture, it's very clear that the Congress needs this victory desperately. I would say the Congress needs it more than the BJP needs it. So the BJP needs it too. And one of the reasons that the Congress needs it, is that it needs to create this idea that it has some kind of southern firewall, right? That this BJP, which is this all-conquering army that is entering new territories, has taken or has entered the Northeast, for instance, will be kept out of the South. And that gives Congress hope. And so this, the way regionalism has been used, not just in the campaign, but in the months leading up to the campaign, I think is an important trend. Elements of it are understandable. Elements of it are a little bit disturbing. But I think that this is, only natural, because the BJP has upped the ante by playing one kind of identity politics, the politics of religion. And the Congress has retorted by playing another kind of identity politics, which is the politics of language.
That's true. Lots of identity politics, lots of subnational identities being stoked there, and I think that's a very well crafted, very well thought out strategy. This isn't happening at the spur of the moment. This isn't happening as we go along. It's been very well thought of as far as the political strategy is concerned. But I want to take this across to Mr. Aslam from the JDS. In just a few more days to election day, Mr. Devegowda and Kumaraswamy, many people believe, still hold the trump card. I'm really going to ask you, because Mr. Devegowda has very categorically said that he is not going to support the BJP.
Yes.
What is the thinking within the party? Because many people believe you will be kingmakers. Who will you eventually throw your weight behind is what people are wondering.
Well, I think Mr. Devegowda ji and Mr. Kumaraswamy have categorically made it clear that we're not going to be the kingmakers. Kumaraswamy is going to be the king, and he'll be the Chief Minister of Karnataka. We'll win these elections with a thumping majority. Now, I want to bring in another point here. Our Prime Minister, Mr. Modi ji, he talks about Sabka Saath and Sabka Vikas, but unfortunately, his chief lieutenants in the state of Karnataka, they speak about communal hatred. We have Mr. Anand Kumar Hegde, who compares Dalits as dogs. Mr. Ishwarappa says the Muslims with the BJP are the good ones, and the Muslims with the Congress are the terrorists. And also tell you a quick important point which I want to bring into the table now. We have 13% population of Muslims in Karnataka, and unfortunately BJP didn't see one able candidate in this 224 constituencies. They've not given a candidature to one single Muslim in the entire state. Is this Sabka Saath and Sabka Vikas? I'm sure definitely it is not. So
Syed Aslam, I take that point, and I hope the JDS stands the ground even after elections. People believe that the JDS will switch sides and likely go with the BJP. I guess everyone sort of is right now only sort of conjecturing. But closing comments from my panelists. Closing comments from my panelists. Chandan Gowda, I'm coming to you. Okay, Chandan Gowda, I'm coming to you first. Opinion polls had given a slight edge to the Congress. It was evident there is going to be a hung assembly as per most of the opinion polls, but they did give a slight edge to the Congress. But that was before the Prime Minister started the sort of aggressive election rallies. He's sort of now invested a lot of his own equity in this battle, increased the number of rallies as well from what was originally planned. Will that make a difference? Could that tilt the election significantly in favor of BJP? And also, do you believe that that the opinions could have got, polls could have got it wrong, and we are likely to see one party, either the BJP or the Congress, get a decisive mandate? Is that possible?
To answer your first question, I think Modi's coming here and being at all these rallies has definitely enthused the party workers, and there is some sort of energy about the BJP's campaign now. But if you actually listen to the speeches, it's very odd. The kinds of local and national issues he's planning to, he invokes at different places. There is something very rehearsed, like a checklist of things to do. There isn't a vision being presented. He's a prime minister who's come from elsewhere. He doesn't need to pretend to be aware of local issues. But that sort of a grandstanding, here is a vision of the party, here is why you should be thinking about us, that I saw was missing. But I'm not sure if his having come here will make a great difference, or even a I can't even see whether 3 seats will come their way after his visit. It's hard to say. But I think the idea, the CSDS poll that said the BJP would emerge as the largest party has still stunned many people. It's not clear how that could be. It looks like either Congress will come on top with or without a majority, BJP second, JDS third. This scenario is most likely to be the scenario after the poll counting happens. Sandeep.
Okay. So let's ask the principal, let's ask the ruling benches and the people who oppose Mr. Modi here in the center. Nivedita Alva, the Prime Minister is known to be a great closer, and many people believe he can win elections for the BJP by simply electioneering and campaigning there. He's known to have done that in a few states. How worried is the BJP with the very aggressive campaign that he has now launched? He's likely to be in Karnataka up until election day on the 12th.
Okay, he's here. He's been here this week. Okay, and if you follow the news over the last 2-3 days and the debates on a lot of the channels and stuff like that, the main debate. In fact, I was in a debate yesterday where the entire topic of discussion was more or less, why has the whole agenda been taken away from development? Not a single speech of the Prime Minister's has he spoken about development. Has he spoken about what to do? They've gone far back into history, pulled stuff out from military history to insinuations to, these grand hit and run statements, which the educated, peace-loving, secular people of Karnataka will not be fooled by, right? It is too late for him to come here. The manifesto has been released today. The other thing, ET now, hats off to you guys, because you're given the JDS a slot on a discussion of manifesto show where they've not even released a manifesto, right? They've been known to go with the BJP in the past. As far as we at the Congress are concerned, it's more or less the same thing. But the point I'm trying to make is there is going to be no effect of the Prime Minister in Karnataka. We have seen it this whole week.
Okay.
There's been nothing of substantialness, no substantial statements made. And we are very confident that we are going to win this one, and we will form a government with a full majority.
That's what I like about these shows, JDS is confident. They're not even probably fielding in all constituencies, and yet, they're equally confident of winning this side. Zafar Islam, I'm going to let you have the last word there. The Prime Minister has sort of been seen as this one person who can come in the last lap and give a push, but Karnataka is not going to be easy. What gives the BJP confidence? Okay, I think we lost the link there with Syed Zafar Islam, but I'm completely timed out on this edition of the India development debate. I'm going to wrap it up here. Sadanand Dume, Syed Zafar Islam, Nivedit Alva, and of course Syed Aslam as well from the JDS, and Professor Chandan Gowda for joining us in the build-up to the big election day on the 12th of May. The manifestos are out, or at least the two major parties, the Congress and the BJP, are out with the manifesto. JDS's manifesto is still awaited by Sundays, what we're told now. Eventually, the people have to look at these manifestos. I do hope they read these manifestos, get a sense of the policy direction of these parties, and then make an informed view. Supriya?
Indeed, I don't think politics can be left to rhetoric anymore. Politicians who promise and make these tall orders in their manifesto should also be held responsible and accountable for how much talk do they eventually walk. There has to be an assessment report card, and I think we as citizens of this country must demand that. But thanks very much for being with us on this edition of the India Development Debate. Up next is Top 10 at 10 with Tanya Bhardwaj.